Hi, and welcome to our podcast, Rise from the Ashes. I'm David Braddock, your host for the podcast. We're talking once again with Susan Mundahl, who is the senior attorney at Mundahl Law. How are you doing today, Susan?
I'm well, David.
So the topic for today is, why do lawyers cost so much?
This is a complicated subject. Let's unpack this for folks to try and make it a little simpler. And I think the first thing that people need to know is, what is the purpose for you hiring an attorney? And I think at its very essence, you're hiring a third party, someone with legal expertise, to find legal solution to your problem. If you could do it yourself, you would. But we live in a complicated society, and there's an awful lot of laws. So what you're looking for with an attorney is someone that can give you the important legal advice and advocacy for your position in a court of law.
Yes, legal issues can be very complicated, but why does it have to cost so much, Susan?
A lot of times, these matters tend to cost more than they need to, but it's because of where clients are at emotionally. And what you're paying for is an attorney's time, and you're paying for their level of experience. That's why the cost varies so much from attorney to attorney. What people don't realize is that they can save on some of those costs simply by being prepared to talk to their attorney, also to have their emotions under control.
What do you mean by emotions under control?
What I mean is, in particular, I do divorces, and divorces are very emotional. Oftentimes, people mistake property for an emotional issue, meaning you can't have that property because you don't love me, so I'm going to make sure you don't get that property. At the end of the day, they are spending thousands of dollars talking about hundreds of dollars worth of stuff. Quite frankly, most of that stuff is replaceable, but it's what it means to them emotionally and their need to talk to someone about the emotional pain they are feeling in the divorce that brings up the cost of that divorce.
It doesn't seem like contacting an attorney about something that's so emotional is really going to be very cost effective.
I agree. And I urge all of my clients to seek counseling. They have a need to tell their story. They really do. In most cases, they have felt betrayed by their spouse, and the level of trust has gone way down. And so they need to be able to talk that out and resolve it so they can move forward with their life. That should not be what you pay the attorney for. What you pay the attorney for should be the legal issues involved. Is there a non-marital or a marital asset? Is the division going to be fair and equitable? Is the custody and parenting time equitable and in the best interest of the minor children? Those are the issues, the real issues that should be taking place with an attorney.
And I suppose that in the earlier stages, much of those even emotional issues do come out, but then it's up to the attorney, like yourself, to make sure that it gets steered towards what those actual legal issues are that you'll even be able to do anything about.
Let's take, for instance, the fact that divorce in Minnesota is no fault. That means the court does not even want to hear whether there has been infidelity, whether there are mental health issues, whether there are gambling issues, addiction issues. It just simply is not relevant to being able to get a divorce in Minnesota. And yet, all of those things present in a marriage create dysfunction, create emotional pain, and do need to be dealt with. Unfortunately, if a person chooses to use their attorney as their sounding board, they are going to spend a lot more money dealing with emotional issues instead of simply working to reach an equitable solution on, say, a business level.
Well, to get back to the question at hand, why does a lawyer cost so much? Why should a person pay for that initial consultation with an attorney when they could just possibly even go from lawyer to lawyer to lawyer looking for that free consultation? What's the value in that first initial consultation?
Lawyers have an ethical responsibility to present their clients with the important legal decisions related to their issue. Lawyers also have spent years of college and have a great deal of student loan debt, and offices are not cheap. We have to have insurance, malpractice insurance, business insurance, all of the insurances. We usually have to have staff and lights and heat and those kind of things. It costs money to run a law firm, quite a bit of money, in order to be able to provide the kind of service necessary to an individual.
To help them with their case properly, even the hiring of really qualified paralegal staff.
That's right. So let's go to what happens in an initial consultation. There's two parts to it. Number one, a person is looking for an attorney that they can trust and one that understands their legal issues. That is important to figure out. But the other piece is you're not just going to try and figure out if you want to marry the attorney. What you want is to know whether they have the level of legal expertise necessary to handle your matter. If you want it done well, then you should be paying for it. It is a sign of respect for both of you for the parties to exchange, in this case, money in exchange for legal advice. It's as simple as that. The folks who go to attorneys that offer a free initial consultation, all they are getting is basically a sales pitch because the attorney generally will not offer legal advice because they know if they offer any legal advice, they can be held responsible to that person who has not even paid them. So they don't get the legal advice they are looking for in that initial consultation.
So are you saying that once you've paid for an attorney, you're actually entering into a contractual arrangement with that attorney?
That's right. Even on a limited level of a consultation, by paying for that consultation, you are assured of the attorney-client privilege and of the knowledge that I can no longer be approached by your spouse and be utilized by your spouse against you. So it is really important that you pay for that initial consultation.
And I suppose everything that's done from that point on becomes useful for the case because it can be recorded and documented, etc.
You're absolutely right, David. That's my job.
So you said once that arrangement has been made that you are paying for the attorney, does that mean that you're paying for every single phone call and perhaps email as well?
Well, that's true, David. You actually do. And the reason is, again, you are paying for an attorney's time and experience. But that's why it's important to be wise about every phone call and every email you have with an attorney. It is so much better if there is one email that sets out the basic question and the basic facts, as opposed to 5 or 6 emails with one line on it. It takes a lot of attorney time for me to put down what I'm doing, pick up your email, respond to your email, and then get back to my work, which is why we charge a 0.2 for every email and every phone call, is there is always an action step. And every time you have a conversation with the attorney or the paralegal, we are always focused on what can we do to bring your matter to a reasonable conclusion. And so it is always a set of action steps. And if you would think of that in your emails and in your phone calls, like if you're asking a question, what is the action you are asking for? That makes better use of both of our time and your money.
When you say that you would charge it as a 0.2, what do you mean by a 0.2 exactly?
0.2 of an hour. Attorneys bill normally in 1/10 of an hour increments.
That's like 1/6 of an hour.
12 minutes.
Okay, there we are, 12 minutes. Well, what I hear you saying, Susan, is that hiring an attorney is much like what I just figured out is the 3 A's. It's advice, advocacy, and an action plan for the client's case.
Absolutely, David. At the end of the day, a good attorney is worth what you pay them. I have a perfect joke that my client told me at the conclusion of her divorce.
Well, then let's hear it.
She said, Susan, why do attorneys cost so much? And the answer is, because they're worth it.
Yes, they are definitely worth it. Thank you very much, Susan.
Thank you, David.
You are listening to Rise from the Ashes, the podcast channel that takes a careful look at all things having to do with legal procedure within the family law process. Rise from the Ashes is sponsored by Mundahl Law, who specializes in assisting families and individuals through the legal process with respect, dignity, and caring. Mundahl Law is dedicated to helping people to solve their legal problems. You can visit the Mundahl Law website at mundahllaw.com or call to schedule a consultation with one of their qualified family law attorneys. Rise from the Ashes, focusing on matters of the family, because family matters.